On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 2019. We're going to be taking a look at The Warning, and they're going to be performing Narcisista. It is a very special video as well because The Warning will be joining me.
Hey, we're The Warning! I'm Daniela.
I'm Paulina.
And I'm Alejandra.
Oh, and I'm the guitar player.
I'm the drummer.
And I'm the bass player.
Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another video. We are going to be jumping into it in a second, but just so you guys know, this is the performance and also the song that we do reference later on, and we also discuss some of the performance elements of it as well. But let's get the ladies up on screen and see how they get on. And there we have it. As you guys would have noticed, this is in Spanish because the ladies speak Spanish being from Mexico and also do perform songs in English as well. Obviously, we will be talking in English throughout this video and we do cover what the lyrical content is in the song and break it down for you guys as well. So without further ado, let's get the warning involved. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah!
Yes. How are you? Nice
Yes.
to meet you.
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Great,
thank
thanks.
you.
So thank you for joining me tonight or today as it is in Mexico. It's a little bit later here. So I've seen that you girls have been live streaming and trying to keep busy while this whole thing is going on with the lockdown. How have you been finding being contained?
For us, it's been pretty normal since we already worked from home. Since we have our studio here in our house, we always work from home. And the only time that we did go out was like on the weekends to see our friends and stuff like that. But right now, it's just like it's a normal kind of situation.
But you know what? Just because it's mandatory to stay inside,
it
you
feels
kind of
a
like
bit more.
it feels kind of like more restricting, of course. So it's
But
kind of like,
it's still
but
been pretty
it's normal
chill.
for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also live music, not being able to go out and watch bands or perform yourselves. But fortunately, we do have the internet, which means that you can live stream when the internet does work, which sometimes I've experienced over the last couple of weeks because everyone's now using the internet. It means that sometimes the internet disappears and then I can't find it and then it does come back. But how have you been finding the whole live streaming thing?
It's been sometimes it's a bit slower, but it's been good, honestly.
Yeah,
and it's
been
been
good. But
it's
we-
actually been kind of like how do you say it? Like
Therapeutical?
Therapeutic. Is that a
Thank you.
word?
It is, I think
Yes,
so.
maybe. Like it's been very nice to be able to talk to people during this time, and if playing our music helps other people like feel better throughout this whole situation, then it's really cool for us to be able to do something like we just turn on a camera and we play and
We
people
can connect with
it's
everyone.
cool.
Although we do miss live performance.
Yes.
It's just
We were about to go on
Something.
tour, our first North American tour, and it suddenly got postponed
cool.
because of this.
Gone.
But I mean, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
postponed at least.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah, it's
canceled.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think
but
it's
yes,
gonna be
weird.
just a different case with each country and how they respond and how long people have to stay inside for. Also, just to let people know that you're talking in English, but you're from Mexico. So when you're not sure of a
I
particular...
noticed a few words that we kind of mess up.
Yeah.
Second language.
Yeah.
But this is it. It's absolutely fine so far. Maybe it'll all go downhill and we'll start inventing new words. But just
It happens.
you
It
do.
does happen. So let's hope that we keep our vocabulary intact throughout this whole.
Yeah,
do it.
it'll save me time with the editing later, not having to put words up on screen and spell them for everybody. But we'll talk about music as that's what it's all about. And I was watching a video earlier. I think I did an analysis of you girls quite a while ago. And it might have been Dust to Dust that I looked at, but I can't remember. It might have been that. That was actually when you were doing a live stream recently, a few days ago. I jumped in and it was in the middle of Dust to Dust. So that was perfect timing of, you guys playing, which was really cool. And it was a lot more relaxed because it was just inside. And it's cool to watch that kind of thing as well.
Yes, it was very nice.
Yeah,
it was like
cool.
an opportunity to show like our more like
laid
back side because we're always like super
hype and pumped
hype,
up and, like,
yes,
on stage,
and we're always doing like
It's
these
like,
crazy
welcome to our
moves.
home, like, let's
Studio, and let's
just-
like this is how we play when we practice by ourselves. So yeah, it was a really cool little show that we did.
But just to talk through kind of how you girls write your songs and how you organize things, and also about this video in particular, it was from last year, and there's a big screen in the background where the lyrics come on screen. And obviously it's not in English, but you can still gauge what the song is about, or the attitude that the vocal is delivered with by Pal. We will get into talking about this song, and I said about having the big screen behind you, and I think what a lot of people might not understand from playing live is the amount that is going on when you girls perform. And especially with having the big screen behind you, I think I spotted Pal triggering the video in the background, and it's something that you're all getting in sync, but people might just watch it and think, oh, right, it's really good, and they got the lyrics in the background, and it's really easy. But I'm assuming that there's got to be a click that is giving you a signal in order to trigger the lyric video in the background, and also to be able to get into the song on time as well. So that's like, and I haven't even said about singing yet, but that's like 2 or 3 things that you're doing all at the same time. But if you would like to explain it, or maybe give people an appreciation of how much is going on.
Okay, so
Your time to shine. Do it.
I run the live show through Ableton Live 10, and I basically have everything programmed and warped to a MIDI click track.
Yes,
And,
that we all hear.
That we all hear.
Okay.
So I have the visuals, right? The screen.
Yeah, the screen.
It's all tied up by a MIDI note. So I send a MIDI note through how do you say Ethernet? Do you say Ethernet in English too?
Yeah. It's yeah. Or you can probably not do it through the internet, but like a triggered wired system, I guess, for people to understand. Yeah.
So I have another computer with the visuals, and I send that MIDI note through that cable and
To front house.
Yeah, to front house, and then front house has an HDMI cable.
Yeah.
For the one in the back.
HDMI. Let me zoom.
HDMI cable.
I get it. I think so.
And
I
I launch things. I also have some backing tracks for when Danny does solos and stuff like that. And it's all warped up to the click track. And I launch them with a trigger pad. Right now, I use trigger pedals instead of the pads because it's easier now for me to just launch it without like having to hit it.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I had a lot of time changes, like tempo changes in the songs, and it was kind of hard to warp them. But now I just have like for the songs that change tempo, I have a
marker.
I have a click track that is recorded instead of like the MIDI track. So when I warp it, it doesn't like change the whole audio. Yeah, that's what I use.
That took like
live. It took me
years
really
of
long.
programming and trial and errors.
It took a whole year of programming for us to get the show as it is right now.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with it. It's very it was a lot of hard work to do it, but I'm really comfortable when I play live, and there's less margin for error when you have I know everything that goes into that program. So immediately when something goes wrong, I know what is wrong. So I can fix it really quickly. And you just feel safer when playing. But yeah, I have to be thinking about all of that when I'm playing.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that people might not appreciate, or when they're just watching the live show, they go, oh, wow, it's great, and don't realize all of these things going on in the background. And especially with then getting into recording software, and like you say, as soon as you change the tempo on a lot of recording software, it means that the sample rate that you've recorded at is now going to be played back at a different speed, and things are going to move around, and the audio is not in the same place. So that is a massive problem live if you've got that going on. But yeah, what I've found in the past is literally working with a whole MP3 file, so that if there is any tempo change, it is a recorded tempo change, and everything's still gonna stay relatable when you're
that's what I do right now.
At
one point in our show, I had it that every time the tempo changed, I needed to hit the trigger pad and change the track every time it changed tempo, but it was exhausting. So now I do that. It's just a recorded MP3 track.
So then you get into the vocals, and I mean, on the particular video, it is a very stirring intro, as we say here in the UK, which is when you get everybody up and into the song already before you've even started. So you then launch into it, and you get going with the vocals as well as doing everything else at the same time, and the guitar riff comes in as well. When you approach your writing, how did this song, for example, come about, with who takes the lead vocal, or who had the idea for the song, and then the lyrics for it, and then the riff? In what kind of order do you piece it all together?
Okay.
You were always gonna sing the song, right?
Yeah, well, I usually start the songs on the piano and then I show it to them and then we work on them together. And I usually write them with Danny's vocals in mind, because I know that I can't sing the songs because I'm playing the drums. And at one point, if I had too many songs
In a live show.
yeah, while I'm singing, it becomes exhausting. So I can only sing a few songs. But this one, while I was writing it, I thought like, hey, I kind of want to sing this one.
Yeah.
So I had kind of the structure down, but not really. I had parts of the verses, I had the chorus, and I knew that I wanted a pre-chorus, but I did not have a pre-chorus. So I showed it to Danny and Ali. I already had drums for it. I already knew what I wanted to do on the drums when I showed it to them. So I showed it to them while I was playing the drums, and then I had a little riff, which is the ba 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 ba, but I only had that part. Like it didn't do anything else. And I showed it to Danny and Ellen. Danny and Ellen were like, "We need to do something with that riff.
It was too repetitive.
It's like too repetitive. It's too boring." And I was like, "Okay, like destroy the riff. It's all yours to destroy." So they added more parts to the riff, and then they harmonized it, which was really cool. I really like that. And
we did. Oh, you stayed in the low register, and I did like the upper. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that part you harmonized.
I think we're doing thirds.
But like when we didn't have the ba 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 da 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 ba ba da da da,
which is like the main thing of
which
the
is
song.
the main part of the song. But it's crazy that we didn't have it when we started writing it, and we were kind of just like jamming,
playing the song.
Yeah. And I started singing that riff, and we were like, okay, let's play that immediately.
Yeah, I was like, wait, how do I play that?
So
like
Danny started playing it, and I started doing, like, emulating what Danny was doing on the riff on the drums. I'm doing pa 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 on the drums while doing is it 16 notes or 8 notes? I do not remember. But okay, so I'm playing that on the drums while I'm doing the accents of the riff on the other hand on the other tom. And then I just started singing it, like the melodies and stuff like that. And then we started working on the pre-chorus, which
although that riff was very weird because sometimes it confuses people because the little note at the end, like da, 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 it doesn't stay there. It's kind of weird. It's like a very, very slow vibrato because it's not a bending. It doesn't like stay anywhere. So it's just like, and it's very weird. But it sounds like, I think it works so great. But yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's usually our writing process. We just start with a very small base of what I mean like BASE base of like what I had, and then
not a very small bass guitar.
And then we just start building on top of that until we get.
And sometimes like we do the end, and then we start at the beginning. It's like very disorganized, actually.
Yeah, it's organized chaos. Honestly, like at the end of the day, we got and we made the song really quickly. Yeah. It was a quick song, and we recorded it very quickly too. It was just a very quick process that it's usually not that quick. Yeah. So we're kind of shocked that our first Spanish song was like
came so like
naturally.
Yeah. Did you find that it was easier having an idea for the lyrics of the song and the path that you wanted to go down, like writing about something that you knew you wanted to write about?
Right.
Yeah, okay, so with the lyrics, I started writing the song and it was in English. It was a really bad song. Like, it was so cringy. It was really bad and I did not like it. But I had the na 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 na. And I was like, that's a really good part. I mean, I need to keep that. And then I started playing around with, because sometimes when I'm writing lyrics, I think in Spanish and then I put it in English. But when I was writing in Spanish, I was thinking in English and putting it in Spanish. And it was just like this weird mess of languages. And I had kind of what I wanted to say with the song, but the lyrics were a mess. They did not make sense grammatically. They were not coherent sentences, but it kind of had a message, and that's I showed it to them and I was like, the lyrics are not there, but it's something that we will work on. But we kind of had like an end result of the lyrics together, and then we showed it to our mom. So, because our like we don't have the best Spanish.
I mean, yes, but
like grammatically, like we do not know.
Although we speak it every day, we're not technically like professionals in
Spanish. And Spanish is a really hard language when it comes to grammar. So we showed it to our mom, and my mom was like, "This does not make sense. You're translating phrases that do make sense in English but don't make sense in Spanish. Like this is not what it means." And we were like, oh, so we had to like basically
we worked on it with her.
We did most of the lyrics again, but with a clear message of what we wanted. And at the end of the day, we were really happy with how the lyrics came out.
We even made some changes like in the studio.
Yes. So it was just kind of like a really free process, and a lot of like going back and forth. A lot of trial and error because it was her first song in Spanish.
Moving on to vocals and singing, when you're working out who's singing the main line and then who's harmonizing with it, do you all have similar ranges vocally, and do you find that one of you sings a higher harmony line better than another one, and all of those kind of things, organizing harmony parts?
Okay, vocals are usually very fun. I mean, we have really similar voices, the three of us. But
sometimes you don't know who's singing.
Yeah. But my vocals have like this slightly warmer, like lower tone.
Yeah.
Even though Danny reaches lower notes.
I can reach lower notes, but my voice sounds brighter.
So usually Danny has a really like she can reach low notes and very high notes too. Yeah. I can't.
I'm the widest range.
I cannot. Oh, that's why Narcisista is kind of hard for me to sing, especially live, because the lowest note that I sing in the song is the lowest note I can reach in general.
Yeah.
And the highest note is the one I can reach, like the highest one I can reach in general. So I go from my lowest range to the highest range I can reach in the same song. And I bounce
back and forth.
I bounce with it like so much. It's like from the lowest to the highest immediately. Like when I go to the chorus, it's immediately C sharp. So it's a very high jump. And when I'm playing it live, the parts where I struggle the most is the second verse, because it's ya no sé qué hacer. Like in here I can reach it perfectly, but when it's live, I barely have any breath, and they're very low notes, and the mic sometimes doesn't catch it as much because I'm singing it quieter than the na-na, which I can fully scream out.
Yeah.
So it's usually a problem that when we reach the verse, like our sound engineer is always like, the volume needs to be higher. And that's usually the struggle with the song. But with the harmonies, we made the harmonies when we were in the studio. Yeah. Like the one in the
Ale usually sings the high.
No, Ale usually sings either the falsetto ones, or the lowest ones.
It really depends, honestly.
On the song.
I get everything.
But in Narcisista, you can all sing the lowest.
We can all sing everything. Yeah. But I usually am better with the low notes.
Yeah, because you have the most
when I don't sing lead.
But usually Danny sings lead. So the lowest notes I need to sing them because Pau doesn't reach them. So
there's some interesting stuff that you're talking about with regard to vocals and hitting low notes and then hitting high notes and covering so much range, or so much of your range within one song. And it's something that people don't realize, that when you get to the low part of your range, that you need a small amount of air. Like you can't smack into your vocal with the same effort that you do at the top of your range, because that's where the emotion is when you start, shouting out and belting, as they call it, and just kind of the buzzword on the internet at the moment. But when you get all the way to the bottom of your range, it then goes so quiet because of the amount of air that's being used. And people think, why don't you sing the bottom louder? You say, well, it's physically impossible for me to sing.
Oh, thank you. It happens so much. Like, just saying it louder, and I'm like, dude, I can't. Like, it's not possible.
Another thing that we have in the song is a little guitar solo in there as well. So when it comes to guitar solos and writing solos, how do you approach it? Is it something that you just jam out in the studio, or you pre-plan quite a lot? What's your creative process for guitar solos?
Okay, usually it depends, but this time I really wanted to prepare a solo that took a lot of the impact, because you come from silence, you come from a pause from everyone, and you just like coming, and I really wanted to come in with something really, really, really powerful. So I said like, okay. And then I also wanted to kind of grab some of the catchiness of the song and kind of incorporate it so that it could be like a very melodic solo that people can actually like sing. Yeah. So what we did is that I asked them like, okay, what do we want to be like the structure, like the chord progression for the solo? And I just like jammed on it like on a loop and see what I could come up with. And at first I think
it was kind of like,
it was weird, like the beginning.
Like there was a part in the middle that used to be the ending, and the ending was a part in the middle.
Like, I got the whole solo like on the first trial run that I showed them, but we just kind of like changed places.
And when we started switching those places, it's where we started putting the little it's not stops, it's the little laid backness of the fills.
We changed the structure of that part so it could like bond with the solo. So
we started changing those things and adding like spicing up the BASE of the solo, the structure. That's the word. In Spanish is base. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, Danny had the solo, and then we started just like tweaking out the little parts of it.
But even though, you know, it's a guitar part, like that's, I think, one of the things that we like to do a lot, that we are involved in every
single aspect
part of the song, you know, in the drums and the bass and the guitar, we are part of everything. So yes,
like just as we opinionated on her solo, like they opinionated on my drum parts, and we opinionated on her bass parts. Everything. So because if the three of us really like every single part, of course the three of us are gonna love the song, and that's the whole point. So we're very hands-on with our music.
Yeah, so if Danny just went off for 5 minutes playing a guitar solo, the other two would say, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It works.
Yeah, and it kind of had to, you know, make sense with the song. Sometimes, you know, I could do, you know, tappings and stuff like that, and it doesn't really like fit with the song. So it has to, you know, like make sense.
Yeah.
We haven't spoken about the bass and the drums being the foundation of every live performance, but also in the studio, it's obviously a little bit more controllable because you can do multiple takes and make things a little bit more accurate and lined up and all that kind of stuff. But for live performance, getting the bass and the drums tight, which is something that I mention on my videos all the time, is the foundation, and that's what's going to make a good live performance. So with regard to that, how much do you try and tie in those two elements of drums and bass live and with the way that you do rehearse it?
I think that we've been blessed that Alejandra is so good with the metronome. Like, it's impressive. Like, sometimes she is the one that's telling me, Paulina, you have to stay on time with the metronome. Like, I'm the one that's falling out of it.
I feel like we've done it for such a long time that we don't even need to think about it.
Like, we just sync up immediately.
It's natural. Like, we always sync up.
And since when we start writing the song together, our parts are usually very, like, synced up. Like I said, like, my bass drums are usually doing what
if she starts
doing.
Playing, like, a certain type of rhythm, I always try
to
compliment. No?
Yeah, compliment it. Yes! Yeah. English, baby. Yes. Okay, so when we start playing live, it's something that we already have very practiced. But when we do practice it, it's not that we're really focusing on being tight. It's just that we're focusing on being with the metronome.
We both have a very
good sense of time.
Yeah. And even when we're not playing with metronome,
the three of us, because sometimes still, like, when our live shows crash, which has happened a couple of times, like my computer just dies, we can still stay very in sync because we know the song. Like, we know like how it should feel.
Like when we play Narcisista, there was one time where like the metronome kind of like
Oh yeah, it died.
It died.
And there are a ton of like stops and like
Oh,
before
yeah,
the solo,
there are a lot
there's
of
silence.
pauses and like
We always like
we're still very
Play on
tight on
it, yeah.
it because we have played it so many times and we have heard it so many times. So basically, the only thing you can do to be tight with somebody is
really
communication, practice, and like we have some little parts where we have like inside jokes that we look at each other and like it's just constant communication throughout every single song.
And we know each other very well.
Yeah, and if you practice with metronome, when you play without metronome, you're gonna be extremely synced up.
Not even like the song, like everything you do, if you play with metronome, like,
you're gonna have a really good
technical exercises, like
even
songs,
though it's
everything
horrible and it's tedious,
you get used to it.
You get now
really
like
helps.
When some people like my friends who really don't know a lot about music, obviously, like I tell them that I have a click track constantly while playing, and then they're like, "What's that?" And I have a metronome app on my phone, and they're like, "You're constantly listening to that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's what like keeps you in time."
We were really bothered by it really.
But like when we started playing, like
woo, but
a long time.
You get used to it. Like sometimes you don't even hear it. You just kind of like go along with it. You don't even.
It becomes second nature. It's just constantly there.
And I think it helps a lot. Also, I don't know, like maybe, but that we're sisters, we have like this kind of like. Connection.
It's weird, but since we grew up together, we know like very little signs and like kind of like gestures that somebody does, and you can instantly read that and kind of read the situation, and that really helps live. Like I can immediately tell when I need to step up singing because Danny like just suddenly like if she like dropped her pick and she really needs to pick it up, but like she needs to pick it up. I start singing the part so she can crouch down and grab the pick.
I think there was one time that you saved me because a solo was coming up and I didn't have my pick and I was just like, no, that's like the worst thing. I would have done it, but still.
And Danny did not tell me anything. She was not like, "Pow, you need to sing." Like I just immediately saw that she was tense and that she was playing differently, and I was like, "Oh, I need to sing." And that's it. It's just like constant communication. And if you can't read people that easily while they're playing live, like just having little talks after the shows, like of what went wrong and what went right. To the next show, you already know what to look out for.
It's really important as well to make sure that if the technology does fail, that you can actually play in the first place and that you can be tight as a band, because then you're always going to be covered. I think, especially with live performances, it's great to have the technology and everything working, but then there's always the foundation of just being a solid live band and being able to sing and play and just being really well rehearsed, which is something that definitely from seeing you girls, you are very well rehearsed. I think also that when you say about being sisters, it helping, you can tell that there is that tightness there. Obviously, it's the perfect scenario for a band to be able to rehearse and talk about songs all the time, because I'm sure if one of you said, "Oh, I can't do that day because I'm off doing something else," everyone would already know what you'd be off doing, so there wouldn't really be a problem with organising it. So, also, just a quick word on you guys as a band and being an independent band and not being signed to like a major record label and getting support of fans. It's something that I mentioned on the channel about being on Patreon myself and the way that I'm doing it and selling everything through my website. If you can keep control of lots of things, I think personally it's a lot better to do it that way. But if you can explain to everybody briefly how you approach the music industry and not really being part of the music industry, but obviously being musicians, but being able to do everything the way that you want to with the support of your fans.
Right.
Okay, so the way that we started this out, I mean, we did have some people approach us, but immediately it was like, we want to change the project, we want to do this, we want to do that. But basically the whole point of our project was doing, like, making our music that we liked. So we continued like on an independent road with obviously the help of all of our fans, which we're extremely grateful for.
It's incredible.
Because honestly, we wouldn't get to the place that we are now and with the music that we have now and the opportunities that we have now without all of our fans' support. But I think in general, like when you have this type of support, there will come a point where you can ask for what you want in a business standpoint, because you already have so much support and you have a fan base and you have people that really like your music, and you can say like, hey, look, like my music is like actually making people feel something. Let me work on what I've been working on. Like, let me prove to you that like if you stay true to what you're doing, it really does have an impact on people.
Yeah, I think that's the point of music. You know, why will we be making something that we are not comfortable with, that would like show, and that's not the point.
So I think that people can sometimes feel that like
how much we enjoy and how much passion and heart goes into our music, and I think that's also, you know, something that people can see and appreciate, and
like it feels real, you know, like it doesn't sound like a manufactured product, something plastic. It feels really us, like it feels human. And I think that's something that we all look for when we're trying to listen to music. We're just trying to connect with other human beings, and I think that's the goal in music in general.
I think it's also something that fans of the music can rely on, the sound of a band, because it's not going to change. Where you might have an album where a record label has said to a band, you've now got to sound a little bit more disco or any other genre that you want to put in those inverted commas, because that's what's selling at the moment. So you might be really into a band and then they release an album and you think, what was that all about? You know, what's that music? Right. It's nothing to do with the identity that they had previously. And I think that's probably a massive part of what people buy into, is the authenticity and the identity of the band. And I think personally that being independent means fans will always get that. Another thing, just quickly to mention at the end about your playing live and all that. Obviously with coronavirus at the moment, it's going to be on hold, but there was a crowdfunding thing that happened online to get you girls to the UK, which would be really cool as well. And I think people can still buy tickets for that, and I'll try and find out where they can go in order to get those tickets, and fingers crossed that it's all going to be okay. I think, I think it is one of those things we just have to wait and see. But I also saw that you've got some updated dates for later in the year, potentially, that you might be playing as well.
Yes, we postponed our North American tour, and now it's supposed to be in October, November. Those are the months that it's going to take place in, which hopefully, like, we really do not know how this whole situation is going to unfold. So hopefully we can play in the UK and in a North American tour. We're really excited about it.
We're supposed to be playing in the UK September 12th.
September 12th.
And we're super excited. We've never been
to Europe in general. So like, we're really excited. And like our first trip to actually like to play, it's really cool. We're
and
really,
also
really
that's it was all possible to our fans, you know.
Yes, we're super thankful.
It's amazing that they worked so hard to bring us there. It's just like,
it's really
amazing.
It's really cool. Like, because honestly, we never really imagined that we would be able to play these places so quickly.
Yeah.
And we're just extremely thankful that we have fans over there that really want us to go. Because I mean, we're dying to go. So if we actually got the opportunity to, it's just
mind-blowing.
It's super amazing.
So let's hope
that things get better,
positive,
and that we are able to go. Yes.
Maybe I'll see you in the UK this year at some point later on.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So thank you.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch up with you guys soon.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much again. This was great. It was a really cool interview.
Catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
So a huge thank you to The Warning for joining me for tonight's video. If you want to get involved yourself in their journey and support them, you can head over to patreon.com/The Warning, and you can also check out their website, which is thewarningband.com. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys at the next one.